Hey everybody, it is Zian with Ardmore Construction, and in today's video I will be teaching you guys step by step how to frame a wall where a window will be installed. So without further ado, let's begin. So step one is the layout and the cut list. You are going to need a speed square, a skill saw, a tape measure, a pencil, and a really nice set of safety squints, especially if you got them. But for the cut list, I've already made all my measurements. In fact, I actually drew a blueprint, so I have every single piece that I know I need to cut. I'm going to go ahead and start measuring those cuts now, and I'll actually speed up this part of the video. You could just see me measuring and cutting. So now that we got our cut list done, basically what we're going to start with is adding the studs. So we got our line and our X. When the line's here and the X is on that side, that means your stud is going to be on that side of the X. So when it comes to making cripple studs, the studs that are going to be coming into here, you're going to want to make sure that these cuts are actually pretty decent. I know this is rough framing, but these cripple studs, especially on the bottom here, when it comes to your sill, you're going to be able to get that length, that accurate length that you want for your RO to be exactly a ½ inch on each end, bigger than the actual RO of your window. Our window is going to be 29.5, so I want exactly 30.5 left to right on each side. In order for me able to do that correctly, especially when installing this sill, is that these cuts are measured correctly enough, so when I run my tape measure, I'm getting exactly 30.5 on each side. It's going to save me in the long run when it comes to leveling this thing out. When I'm punch listing this, it's going to be a lot easier. I'm not going to have to go back and redo this. Now again, this is our bottom plate here. We've got our two outside studs. We've got our two cripple plates now that I didn't mark in to confuse anybody. We have our king studs. Our king studs are here. They're not running all the way up at the top. They're going to be meeting the header at the top. You'll see the header here soon. So far what we have done is we have done the bottom layout. We have added our king studs on the sides here. We have added our sill, and now lastly, now that the wall is complete, we're gonna make sure that this wall is good. So we're gonna go ahead and make sure that we got the same numbers on each side, like so, just for a rough check here. Yeah, and we're looking good. So now that we have the basics of this done, what I'll go ahead and do is I will start to sheet this wall. As you can see, this is what the wall looks like stood up. And let's go over some of the literature for you guys and what these studs do, because there actually is a science of why these studs are built this way and why the handbook of framing has always had it be like this when it comes to framing. So right here on the bottom, you have what you call your bottom plate. And then let's move up a little further. You have your cripple studs here, and you have your king stud. If you notice, your king stud lands on top of this header. That's going to support all the weight and push that down to the foundation of the building. Something that I didn't get into you guys with a little bit was the top plate. You would assume you just put the top plate on. Something I personally like doing is when I'm nailing my top plate to this stud up here, is I'm nailing it on the stud lines and not in between them. The reason why I do that is, say your HVAC, your plumbing, your electrical guy, whoever's going to come in, and if they have to drill any holes up into here, they're not going to be hitting any of those nails. So rule of thumb for when you're nailing on your top plate is I like nailing on my top plates over my studs. You'll run through this step after you've already stood up your wall, leveled it out for plumbness and stuff like that. But what will happen is the checkout guy will come through and he'll run along with his 4-foot level or 8-foot level or so on, and he'll put his level down, and what he's doing is he's checking for levelness or any inaccuracies. You'll do then at that point is you'll make sure that these studs are all flushed, tied together, you know, bottom to top. And what that's going to do is it's going to save whoever's drywalling it a lot of time and energy. You don't want that drywall guy to come in there and have to refix your studs, especially if you're doing the drywall. Some other things too as well, if you're putting this on concrete, put in what's called bolting, and you'll be bolting it into the concrete. Bolting is every 4 feet. It really just depends on your code. If you're ever setting this wall down on concrete, you'll be bolting every 4 feet. So now that we have done the diagram and I have given you guys all the literature and names for each piece and what each piece does, let's go ahead and put that exterior sheeting onto this wall. All right, so good rule of thumb when it comes to nailing down your sheeting, no more than 12 inches. Hit every single stud, outsides, so on and so forth. Let's go ahead and make our rip cut and get this sheeting all flush to our wall. You know what? I didn't mess up once this whole entire time. And then I just kind of threw that off just a 1/4 inch. But don't worry, the punch out guy will get that. Now we have added the sheeting to the exterior side of this wall. Notice how I have the sheeting facing a certain way. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video as much as I have, and I will leave you guys as confident as you possibly can be the next time it comes to your major framing project. If you guys would like to see us level this wall and install the window, now is your time to turn on the notifications, drop a subscribe, leave us a comment. I'll be sure to respond to all of you guys. But if this feels too difficult, don't be afraid to call the pros at Ardmore Construction. The link will be in the bio, and follow us on Instagram for daily educational videos. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video as much as I have. Until then, I'll see you guys on the flip side.